Hey everybody, this is Kris Gethin and this is the Knowledge and Mileage podcast, and today I have a very special surprise for y'all because I've got two very special guests, and that is Ashley Horner and Alex Viada. Hello everybody, welcome to the show.
Kris, good to see you again.
What's up, buddy?
What's up? My testosterone, because I just had my Feridrox this morning, so feeling good. Anyway, so let's get straight into this. So first of all, for the listeners out there who have no idea who you are, they're probably living under a rock there. But for those ones that are living underneath a rock, Alex, starting with you, can you give us a little bit of your background in regards to your physical and professional background?
Sure, yeah. My name is Alex Viada. I run a company called Complete Human Performance. Personally, we do what we call, well, we were one of the first shops out there to do real hybrid training, concurrent training, strength and endurance. And over the years, we've evolved from focusing on just everything from general population, moving over to military populations, and actually working with a lot of more ultra endurance and extreme athletes. My personal background comes from a strength background, more of a powerlifting background, gotten into ultra running, triathlons, and the like. And yeah, that's about it. I'm not the exciting one here, so I'll let Ashley take the rest.
Okay, no pressure then, Ashley. You better be exciting.
I'm trying to think of it's like the hardest question. So I started out doing. I was an athlete growing up. I played soccer, was my main sport. Played at a pretty high competitive level, and then I switched over. I got into the fitness industry. I became a personal trainer, and then I really got into bigger competitions and bikini competitions. I did that for a while. I liked it, but I didn't really feel as if it pushed me very much, like physically with the athletic background that I had, and I just wanted a little bit more. So I continued on. I went on to, I started doing some running competitions, ultras, and kind of within that journey, I really found my the love working for humanity and using my fitness platform as a platform that can help others in need. And so that's kind of what has led me here today and meeting with Alex and having Alex as my coach.
All right. So, you mentioned that, when you were doing various competitions in the muscular and bodybuilding sort of realms, it didn't really push you as much as it needed to. Everybody has some sort of limits that they want to push, and maybe it's bodybuilding, maybe it's endurance or whatever. Now, going back to you, Alex, now you're obviously a very muscular person. So was that your primary background before you got into endurance sports as well?
Growing up, kind of a little bit like what Ashley said, I played a lot of different sports. And interestingly enough, I wasn't particularly good at any of them. It was going to college and pretty much stopping everything that kind of was the turnaround point for me. And then I got into strength sports, just into basically just heavy lifting. I mean, I say strength sports, I'm probably doing myself a bit too much credit for any real rhyme or reason to it. I just found that I could get very, very strong. And after a couple of years of that, though, I realized that my level of endurance and athleticism had dropped to pretty much, bottom of the barrel, next to nothing. And the idea of kind of rediscovering endurance sports and realizing how bad I was at them and what a challenge it represented was kind of the appeal of it. And a little bit the same. It's there's a certain challenge, a certain mindset, a certain level of, I guess, difficulty and almost self-discovery that comes along with a lot of this, a lot of the endurance type work, which I got hooked on.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. So did either of you think when you started getting into the endurance side of it, especially after you've been, weight training and strength training for so long, that you may have to give that up in order to pursue this secondary passion? I'll start with you, Ashley.
No, I didn't. You mean would I have to give up my strength training?
Yeah.
No, strength training is still whether I'm competing on stage or not, it's still a huge part. It's always been a huge part of, my daily and weekly regimen. I fell in love with the weight room a long time ago, and I just love how it makes me feel, even as a female, but I love just feeling strong all the time. And there have been times where I have almost focused a little bit just on endurance type training, and I have left my strength training out. And I can tell a huge difference in just even my recovery from endurance sports. They both go hand in hand, and I definitely wouldn't take one and leave the other. Like, I have to have both.
Got it. Okay, and same question to you, Alex. You know, when you started getting into your ultras and your Ironman events, being a much bigger muscular person, what are you, about 235 around there? So, you know, you're a big guy. Did you ever think, okay, I'm probably going to have to sacrifice these crazy deadlifts intertwined with my beer swilling to go into endurance sports solely?
No, you never have to compromise those things. It's you know, and it's actually it's kind of funny. You know, especially Ashley mentioned how much she missed it. You know, it depends on what your goals are. I mean, my goal was honestly never to win an Ironman. You know, I know that that's so far out the realm. You know, the time I'm starting it at and the level of dedication I want to put into it. You know, I have a little bit of athletic ADD, but I enjoy everything. I enjoy competing in everything. I enjoy trying different things, and I need them both. You know, I need multiple things to throw myself into. And, you know, both the challenge in the weight room is very different than the challenge out on the trail. It's very different than the challenge out on the bike. And having all of them kind of keeps you sane. So, you know, I know that the more I go down one path over the other, the more challenging the other one becomes, just because, you know, physique for one. I mean, if I drop 50 pounds to be more competitive in triathlon, obviously that's going to have an impact on my strength training. If I, you know, gain another 10 pounds of muscle to be stronger, obviously that's going to have an impact on the endurance work. But I really couldn't imagine going one side or the other. I mean, it's just, there's both of them, all sides of it are just too important for my own sanity and health and well-being.
I think it's you're speaking for all of us here. It's definitely something that isn't specifically training our heart and lungs. Yes, it is. Got a purpose to it for our health, for vanity, for confidence, etc. But it's definitely a mental stimulation and therapeutic need that we have to have every day. Like, people probably ask you, you know, both of you all the time, and they ask me, how do you stay motivated? Well, it's like, I don't really even have to think about it. It's a necessity. I'm not, you know, motivated to make a coffee in the morning or brush my teeth. It's just a part of the routine. And I guess it's the same for both of you guys. It's a necessity. And the more that you kind of pursue in different realms, the better you feel. You know, you question yourself a lot of times when you're out there. It's like, oh my God, how many more miles? The temperature is how hot? But you're still out there doing it the next day and the day after. Because, you know, number one, you know, you are influenced by the therapeutic value, but now you guys are up on a platform. You know, you are transparent, and now your sincerity is on the line. And if you've got these platforms to help other people as well, then it kind of drives you as well. So it's selfish in order to be a little selfless. Right. Now, I'm going to let all the listeners know now, because if they don't know already, they're going to be thrown back on the floor face first. Ashley is actually about to embark 2 weeks out. Are we 2 weeks out now, Ashley, from your next challenge?
12 days.
12 days, 12 days. You counted the minutes as well. I would be.
I don't want to.
So, yeah, too late now. So Ashley is about to do, get ready for this, I hope everyone's sitting down, a full distance Ironman triathlon. She's going to do 50 of them in 50 days in 50 states. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ashley.
That is correct.
That is correct. Now, for
so
all the...
it's actually starting in Haiti, and then it is also ending in Haiti. So it's actually 48 states, and then twice in Haiti. So
it's not as if you're going to drive to all of these places, then you're going to have to actually take flights to Haiti. So your first and last one, that's, you know, well, your last one definitely is going to be a bit of a challenge. How long is the flight from the state that you'd be flying from?
So from Florida, no, I'm sorry, we're flying from Atlanta. It's actually not that far. It's about a 2.5, 3 hour flight. But the only issue is once we get into Haiti, we have to drive about 3 hours, 3.5 hours, depending on the traffic and the roads, to get to the village of Hinch, which is where I will be doing my Ironman. And logistically, there's only a few flights out of Haiti every day. We're actually going to have to wait. I'm going to do the full Ironman on the 12th in Haiti. And then the following day, I'm going to have to travel down to Port-au-Prince, catch the flight, get into Virginia probably around midnight. And then that's when everything will like pick up. So there is going to be, just from the country, just from Haiti to the States, there's going to be a day in between. And there's nothing that we can do about that to fix that.
Wow. Okay. So if you miss that plane, you're actually swimming there as part of the Ironman. Yeah. Well, at least you start with a swim, so that's okay. All right. So just for the people out there who have no idea what this means, that means Ashley will be completing a 2.4 mile swim, a 112-mile bike ride, and a 26.2 mile run, a full marathon, every single day. 50 of them every single day. Now, Alex actually trained me for my Man of Iron, my very first my Olympic distance, my half Ironman, my full Ironman, all as part of the Man of Iron video series that I did last year. And thanks to this guy, I'm now kind of hooked. I haven't become so hooked as what Ashley's doing by any means. That's off the chart as far as I'm concerned. But Alex, you've trained a lot of extreme athletes in the past. Like, what was going through your mind when Ashley approached you and said, hey, this is what I'm thinking of doing? You know, what was your first concerns? And, how did you navigate them and, work out this plan and schedule with Ashley moving forward?
First thought was, this will be fun. For something like this, I think anytime you get into any kind of really extreme event, physically, there's almost no way to be truly prepared for it because you never know what's going to happen. It's as the days go on, as the weeks go on, it's, things are going to happen. There are going to be good days. There are going to be bad days. As long as the body is physically durable enough to make it through 50 days of constant activity, the cards will kind of fall where they may. My biggest concerns going into it was really mindset and having and again, totally overused, but having the right why. Because anytime in training you hit those low points, you hit those dark points, you hit those days where you don't want to be doing it. Anytime in competition, I mean, how many times have people done ultras or done Ironmans and been out there 2/3 of the way through and said, I just don't want to be here anymore. And as things go on, it gets in your head, and mentally it gets in your head. It gets easier and easier to quit. You say, I've done enough. I've made my point. I've seen people quit 100-mile races at mile 98 because they feel they've done enough. And you think, how can that happen? But that's because the mind isn't right, because the underlying motivation isn't strong enough. And I think my biggest thing going into this was saying, well, is that motivation strong enough? When things get difficult, when things get challenging, when it's suddenly easy to quit, is she going to keep going? And, that I think is the most responsible question to ask, because otherwise people are effectively beating themselves up for absolutely no reason. So that was the major concern.
All right. What about you, Ashley? Like, I've known you for a number of years, and you tend to jump into a lot of things. Like, we all know that you've gone through some amazing challenges. You've blown them apart, whether that's running through Haiti, whether that's, remember when we were in India, he was like, oh, this guy, he's done this many swims or this many miles over 30 days. I'm going to do that, just like that. So had you really thought this one through, or did you decide to do it and then think it through and have any concerns?
I mean, it's kind of my personality. Like, whenever I get my mind set on something, I just wholeheartedly, and kind of like what Alex was saying, like, I get really kind of immersed and start, I almost have like, you could call it like ideaphoria, where I visually already start to see it happen. And I was really excited about this endeavor. I knew after I did the 230-mile run around the western border of Haiti, we had just had, or it was coming up on the 1-year anniversary. And, I promised those kids, I didn't know what it was going to be, but I promised the boys and girls in Haiti that, like, that wasn't going to just be all that I would do. Like, I feel as if like a part of me has almost committed my career and my athletic ability, using my platform, whatever way that might be, and helping these children. And so I just was thinking about, like, I have done a lot of crazy things, and I've ridden my bike, I've done long swims, I've done long runs. And this was kind of, for me, kind of just the idea of piecing them all together. Yeah, it just made me, I don't know, it just made sense. And it made me really excited to try this endeavor.
Totally the next logical step. I mean,
why not?
So now you are definitely one of, if not the strongest mentally strong female athlete that I've ever met. There's no doubt about it. But what do you have any concerns physically? Like, do you have like any old injuries that you feel that may surface? Do you feel that your body will run down to a certain degree? Do you have any concerns about that whatsoever, or you're very confident now, especially with Alex's help, that the nutritional will be in place, you'll be able to recover? I don't even know if you're going to take supplements to assist with your REM sleep or anything like that, to ensure that you recover. Are you thinking in possibly like glutathione IV shots, or what is it? Because you're doing something that is superhuman. So do you have any concerns that could possibly show your mortality?
I mean, I really don't think that it's a superhuman feat that I'm about to do. I have dumbed it down so much in my mind that I'm not nervous or anything at all. I know that the first couple, like even 3 to 5, like when it's like the day before, I am going to be extremely nervous, and it's going to take a few to kind of, just go into these every morning relaxed. But as far as any old injuries, I mean, I have done enough of these crazy things to know that like pain is so relative. And I feel like, even for the run, for example, that I would start to feel something like in my knee, or maybe it was my lower back, and then all of a sudden it was like in my ankle, and then after that it would be like back in my shoulder. And so I know that the aches and pains are going to come. I think that we'll just probably try to manage anything that comes up, like, to the best of our ability. The only injury that I have sustained is whenever I was running through Haiti. My left ankle is just a little bit sore, but it's been manageable. I mean, I haven't had any issues with it whatsoever. I've been doing dry needling, and it's good.
Now, when you was in Haiti, obviously you were running on quite a lot of uneven surfaces as well. Mm-hmm. So I hope to the advantage now that you'll be running on more even surfaces anyway. So Alex, have you looked at Ashley's total nutrition, recovery, supplemented profile? And are you making distinct changes to what Ashley was doing in the past? Because I know Ashley, she'll just go out and kind of support the nutrition, whatever's available, because she's so mentally strong. So I could only appreciate that with that engine being super strong, being here, the second brain, that her first brain is going to be able to power through this.
Yeah, so we've been made the decision actually somewhat early on to do almost a cross between carbohydrate periodization and ketogenic diet to support this one. We looked at a lot of things like a lot of the decision making was about some of the anti-inflammatory properties, some of the actual potential aerobic benefits, certainly of doing certain kinds of fasted cardiovascular activity first thing in the morning. And also being able to handle high nutrient density foods. One of the most important things on this is going to be managing the sheer number of calories she's going to be eating. And if her system is accustomed to and runs well on a high fat diet, she's not going to be eating, massive quantities of carbohydrates to fuel this thing. She's going to have just enough carbohydrates to really keep that edge there and keep that high performance edge there. So that was one of the major kind of nutritional interventions we've been doing and we've been playing with. And I think thus far it's been working pretty well. I don't have any concerns with that at all. And there's still carbohydrate sources. There's still certainly some of the supplements, some of the hydration drinks and even the occasional Smucker's Uncrustable in the middle of the day, which definitely takes the edge off of the constant fat and protein. But that's been kind of the major consideration there.
Hey, I didn't get any Smuckers in my program, Alex. Is that because
No.
I didn't push it far enough, or what?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you want to start training for maybe like a 50 or 100 miler, we can definitely talk about these things.
A 50-mile bike ride? Yeah, no worries, fine.
Sweet.
Yeah, okay. So, right, so let me get an understanding here. So the ketogenic diet, because I understand a lot of carbohydrates can lead to a lot of inflammation. When you go in keto, obviously you're utilizing your ketones and you're going a higher fat, so you're keeping that inflammation lower as well. And studies have shown, correct me if I'm wrong, that you can increase your VO2 max. Not that you're going to be hitting VO2 max with a higher VO2 max on a keto diet. Did that come into play in regards to choosing keto intertwined with some carbs? So I'm understanding this right. It's a kind of a cyclic keto and carbohydrate diet, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. The majority of it is the carbohydrates are mostly strategically in the middle of the day, unless there are donut trips early in the morning, which I have no control over at the moment. But and again, like you said, the anti-inflammatory benefits of it are huge. Also, what's very interesting is that if you basically complete activity in a low glycogen state, you actually get improvements in mitochondrial profiles, which is kind of the enzyme activity in mitochondria responsible for a lot of aerobic adaptations. So by strategically using this, what we're effectively doing is maximizing the benefit of a lot of her aerobic base work. For example, she does a session at the end of the day, then wakes up in the morning, does a fasted session. Given the benefits of doing that in a low carbohydrate, low glucose environment, the adaptations are much, much more notable. Even if it's a 1 or 2% increase in the benefit she's getting from that workout, over time that adds up.
Yeah, for sure. So how far, Ashley, are you, for instance, if you're going on a ride, if you're going on a run or whatever, like how long are you going in a fasted state? Is that the entirety of your workout that you're doing in a fasted state? And if so, how do you feel doing that? Like, are you hungry, or, that hunger pang is kind of gone now? Just like if you're to fast, the first few days are the worst. Did you find that you get used to it pretty quick? Like what's been the effects of it so far?
Yeah, I mean, I'm waking up knowing that I'm going to go on a run or a swim fasted, and it doesn't really bother me. I think like just mentally, like if I know that I'm doing it fasted, it's like I know that the food is going to be there waiting for me whenever I'm done. And, my energy levels seem to be fine because I have just told my brain that it's like I'm going to be able to eat soon. And I don't really notice anything as far as like my energy levels. I didn't find that, anytime that I've had to do like a fast before, I would do like a run, and I also like, I know that most of your energy stores and stuff, like it matters what you eat the night before. It's not like I'm going to go eat something and I'm going to automatically use it for fuel like that. So it's like, if I know I'm going to have a fasted run in the morning, it's like, and it's never any more than 6 miles, I think, Alex, or like a 2,500 meter swim. It hasn't been anything like too extensive. I mean, I feel like anybody can get through a 6 mile run or like a 2,500 meter swim without eating.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess it's going to help with the recovery to a certain degree, especially long term, because as we know, when you're fasting, you go through a lot of autophagy, cleaning your DNA, helping your mitochondria. So to a certain degree, it's, because you have to be worried about the inflammation, the aging properties associated with a lot of food consumption. So through that fasted state, there should be a lot of recovery happening at that time. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a big part of it is the entire process of glycolysis is basically a what you call pro-oxidative, and being able to spend a good amount of training simply not utilizing those energy pathways, you're reducing your reactive oxygen species and everything else. You are mitigating some of the damage that comes along with a lot of higher intensity training and a lot of long distance endurance training.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Understood. So, for instance, when I'm fasting, I will go through and I never thought that I'd ever start fasting, being a person who never missed a meal in like 18 years. And then I started fasting a little bit last year. However, when I fast, I have a controlled fast. So I'll have my coffee in the morning. I'll have my multivitamins. I'll have my supplements. So I'll have, my glutamine and my BCAAs and stuff like that. Do you have a complete fast of like no calories whatsoever, or are you allowed some supplements during that time to ward off the effects of catabolism, etc.?
I mean, are you asking me?
Yeah, I'll start with you. Yeah.
Okay. For me, I mean, it's like my training, like if it's a 6-mile run or a 2,500 meter swim, that's not taking me any more than just a couple hours max. Like, maybe an hour and a half. I always have coffee because I have to, but besides that, I mean, that's all that I will have, and then just water if I need it.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, part of the benefits. So the only downside to doing fasted activity, like there's some benefits to it, like we just talked about, but the downside to it is that your recovery is going to be slower, obviously, if you don't have any nutrients in your system. So it's just that shorter session early in the day that's done in kind of a fasted state. And then there are kind of strategic meals beyond that for the rest of them. So we're trying to kind of get the best of both worlds there. You get used to performing for at least an hour in a fasted state. You get some of the benefits, the aerobic benefits, and you're mitigating a little bit of the, inflammation that we talked about. But then later in the day, when you get into some of the longer endurance sets, you can eat a little bit more, you're having meals around it, and you're getting all the calories you need for recovery, repair, growth, and everything else.
Right. So let me get this right then. So you're having a shorter form of cardio in the morning, but you're having a more extensive, longer session in the afternoon, evening. Got it. I thought it was just the one you were talking about there. Got it.
Yeah. She's training 3 times a day at least.
3 times a day. So that's including your weight training, correct? So you'll have a cardio, weight training, then another cardio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So would the diet change, do you think, actually during those 50 Ironman distance triathlons to what you're doing now? I assume would maybe the swim be fasted, or are we starting off with a big meal?
Yeah, I mean, you take that one.
Well, I mean, yeah. So I definitely think Alex. It just honestly, like, it blows my mind, Kris, and I kind of I met Alex through you, Kris, but I am just always blown away by how smart Alex is, and like, so at the end of the day, I'm gonna do like what he says or thinks that I should do. But I think that, like, for me, besides listening to my coach 98% of the time, if my body, if I really, really feel like that I need something, I think that there shouldn't be anything that's really off limits. I have a really good just connection with my body, understanding what my body needs. And so I think, like, once it gets to a point, and I know, like, Alex can definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but like, maybe I will want to eat a dozen donuts, and I'm thinking that'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, once your body starts getting to that stress point where you're just craving everything, you pretty much give it whatever you want. I mean, you think about people who do these ultras and they have this very careful meal plan for the first 40 miles. They're like, okay, every 35 minutes, I'm going to take in this and this and this. And by, mile 70, they're sitting there going, wait a minute, raw eggs and chicken broth? Yes, I want all of that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's going to be a big part of it. I mean, we want to keep the meals in the morning relatively light. And a lot of that is just so you can get peak nutrient and water absorption. Because, if your stomach is completely full of food, you don't absorb electrolytes as quickly. You don't, get water through your system as quickly. All that water sits in your gut trying to help you digest the food. So if we can keep the morning meal light, that's going to let her drink and hydrate a lot better throughout the course of the day and kind of take in steady food intake. But, obviously we're going to get to a point, like Ashley was saying, after a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, when the calorie needs are just going to be so high, the cravings are going to be there. And at that point, it's going to be a case of, well, let's just see what our body needs and kind of fuel her accordingly, and really just learn to not say no unless it's going to be something that just is, going to wreck your system for the rest of the day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, what always blew my mind is when especially when you read a lot of these publications for endurance sports and whatever, and for Ironman, people would literally gut bomb themselves in the morning before swimming. So carb load, so many calories, thinking they need it to get to the ride or whatever. And I'm thinking, have you any idea how much energy that requires just to digest all that?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be out there swimming 2.4. You should probably be lying out on a rock trying to digest it, basking in the sun, Yeah,
Yep.
Weird. But anyway, going back to the motivation of this, Ashley, can you tell our listeners why you are doing this? And I know why you're doing it, but let us know why you're doing it and how our listeners can help you.
Yeah, so about 3 years ago, I got involved with this orphanage over in Haiti, and since then, it seems like I've gone back almost every 3 months, and I usually take my boys with them. The purpose of me being involved with this orphanage is to help the children and the education that they're receiving. I care deeply for every single one of those boys and girls, and enough to where I consider them to be mine, and I want to take the things that they are already doing, the gifts that they already have, and magnify that through education. And it takes years, and efforts to turn a generation around, or a third world country around. And it all starts, I'm a firm believer that it all starts with education and giving these boys and girls the tools that they need to become the future leaders of Haiti. And so my goal is to raise $100,000 for this orphanage in Haiti. And I 100% believe that we can do that. And that's where my heart is. That's my motivation. And I know for a while, Alex and I were talking about the route, and I think we were going to start in Haiti, and then we were just going to start in the US and just end in Haiti. And then I was talking to Alex one night, and I was like, I want to start and finish it in Haiti, because I feel like that's my purpose. It's almost like the beginning and the ending of a journey that I'm about to be on. And that's why it was important, when people ask me, like, well, why do it twice in Haiti? I think one time is going to be enough. For me, it's about the journey, and I want to be there whenever I start with those kids, and I want to be there at the end whenever I finish with those kids. And so, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I know when I did my Ironman, I had my Cara on my wrist, and when I was in the swim, I would look to that every now and again and realize, okay, this is the purpose why I'm doing it, raise some funds for these little girls in India. And I guess it's got to be the same sort of thing. You see their faces as you go off on your journey, and you're going to see those faces every now and again when you are going through some hardships, some harder times where you're going to be questioning yourself. It's a good reminder, and it gives you that accountability and motivation just to persist and carry on, so you can give further to them. So in the show notes to everybody listening, there will be a link so you can actually make that donation and help support, or even just share this message, whatever you can, to help Ashley here, because she's really putting it on the line here, and isn't the first time, but this is just the craziest time thus far. Alex, carry on. You were going to say something?
Yeah, I think that's, I think it sounds crazy, but I think, as Ashley was alluding to earlier, I kind of want to take a second and say that the way this has been approached, I think, like she said, what's so important in her mind is that it's not crazy per se. Every day, like, she knows what she has to do, and it's something that is within her capabilities. And I think that's the most important thing to remember about these is, any sort of extreme sports you've done, the crazier something seems, the more calculated it is, and the more logical it is, and the more thoughtful it is, and the more precautions you take and everything else. And I think, one of the things that's been so unique about this is that there's not this, flying by the seat of the pants feeling to any of this when it comes to, the whole concept. It's, how can we be methodical about this? How can we do it safely? How can we do it in such a way that's logical, that makes sense, where every day can get broken down into, okay, what's the next step? And, what do I need to do and say, and, what's going to get me that one step closer towards finishing this thing? So I think that's kind of been the, I think self-discovery in a lot of this stuff. And I think something that, I think Ashley, you probably noticed a million times in the past is things only seem crazy when you look at them from the outside and not when you actually sit there and say, okay, I'm going to do this.
Got it. So, like, from the perspective of physical, mental, from a nutritional standpoint, what is the most important here to pursue this every single day and get through it and recover? Is it going to be the training, the nutrition? Is it going to be the headspace? Or is it kind of like a three-legged stool? It's all even, and if one of them's chopped short, it's going to fall over.
Yep. I mean, want to go first?
You go.
All right. My biggest thing is, like you said, it's a three-legged stool. If any one of those obviously breaks and falls, then, the other two, they all have to be there. And, I think the biggest thing is just going to be realizing that, each one of the legs of the stool there are going to be days when something is wrong with each one of them, and each one looks like it's, faltering, but you go on, you fix it, you find what the issue is, and you keep going. It's a I hate to say this because it's obviously not a marathon, but it's a marathon. It's 50 of them. It's a long-term proposition, and it's this isn't just a short sprint where you see every step ahead of you and you know exactly what you're going to do. This is the kind of thing where there are going to be twists and turns, and there are going to be potholes, and there are going to be things that you have to face, things that you have to fight, times when you're going to get knocked down, you stand back up, but it doesn't matter as long as you know that you're going to have the ability to fix it, the time to fix it. Everything is about just durability, longevity, and as weird as it sounds, trying to make sure you stay as healthy as possible through this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
You go, Ashley. Would you share the same sentiments as Alex?
I do. But as he was talking, I was recalling one of the first times that I met Alex. Alex, I'm going to tell the story. So I don't know if he did this to you, Kris, because I don't. Okay, so do you know Palomar Mountain in California?
Yeah.
Have you cycled up that before?
Yeah, we both did it, and then we ran the following day. Was it?
We did.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is the Alex, just get, like, it's is it 10 miles up, but it's like the incline? Give the stats on that really quick.
Yeah, so we did the full Palomar climb. It was about 12.7 miles up with about 4,300 feet of gain in that 12 miles.
Yeah. So this is I don't know if you know this story, but I think I had met Alex a time before he had flown out to Virginia. I think was the very first time that I had met him. And we just did like an easy 25-mile ride. It wasn't anything. Knowing that I had plans to go back out and see him in a couple weeks in California and to do this Palomar ride. And then we were climbing a mountain like the following day. So, he said, I have everything for you. Just bring your shoes. And I was like, okay. He has my bike. We put the bike in the back and we took off to Palomar, which was, I want to say it was about 45 minutes or like an hour, but we were on a pretty strict time schedule because we had to cycle up Palomar, and then we had to come back down, and then we were actually going to Palm Springs because the next day we were getting ready to climb Cactus to Clouds, or we were going to run it. And so I got there, and of course, for whatever reason, we got out the bike, and we were already running behind a little bit, and my clips didn't work on my bike. Like, I had the wrong clips. And because we had the Garmin clip-ons or the Garmin pedals. And so my clips didn't work in the Garmin pedals. And he was like, what do you want to do? And we went to this bike shop that was like 45 minutes away. And I ended up just getting these flat pedals to put these flat pedals on. Because I was like, well, if my clips don't work, I just want to use like flat pedals. And so I started out with these flat pedals with my cycling shoes. Okay. But my cycling shoes, because of the it has like the hard sole, they kept slipping out of these or off of these flat pedals. Like it was impossible to pedal up because I was just going to do the whole climb up Palomar, which I didn't know anything about Palomar. I mean, he talked about like the climb and how hard it was going to be. And so I started going. I don't even think we got like a half a mile. And I realized that the shoes were not going to work with these flat pedals. And so I just decided to take off my cycling shoes and I rode up in my socks. And the whole time, and he kept asking, do you want to stop? Do you want to stop? And I was like, no, I don't want to stop. And meanwhile, all this fog was coming in, rolling in. And I just wanted to like get to the top of Palomar. Well, come to find out, which Alex just told me last week whenever we were in Boone training, that he actually did that all along on purpose to see what I would do whenever he said that I didn't have any clips that would fit my bike.
What a test, and of all hills to test her on.
Well,
yeah.
So the rationale there is, and I got some really dirty looks for that. Anytime in training, you try to create situations that are going to be as hard or harder than what you're going to encounter during the race. When I first met Ashley, obviously, I knew her background. I knew her fitness level. I knew that she has plenty of aerobic capacity and endurance to complete these. That wasn't the issue at all. The issue is going to be things are going to happen. Things are going to happen every day. You have a lot of people, and I've worked with a lot of people who they are very dedicated and very stubborn and always want to complete things until you put them in a situation where they feel like they have no control or no way to complete something.
It's kind of like what Mike Tyson said, isn't it? Everyone's got a plan until they get their nose hit.
Exactly. And then you say, well, what's going to happen? What is this person's personality? If you work with somebody for a year, 2 years, 3 years, you start to see the little things that, their Achilles heel, the things that break them down, the things that get them discouraged. And then you see what you need to do to help them get through that. I had a period of how long? 4 months, 5 months total?
Yeah, 5 months.
To try to figure everything out, to try to figure out how stubborn somebody is, how far they're willing to push it, what they're willing to do. And part of what I wanted to see, because it's a tough climb, but at the end of the day, it was only, the 13 miles are downhill. It's only 13 miles uphill. The main thing I wanted to see is if you're put in a situation where your gear malfunctions, where the weather is bad, where whatever else comes along, and you have every opportunity to quit, what are you going to do? And do you need internal motivation? Do you need external motivation? How far are you going to push yourself? And I think more importantly, how are you going to approach that? Are you going to get upset? You're going to get angry? You're going to get frustrated? Are you just going to get more determined? And that situation pretty much told me everything I absolutely needed to know, which is that, yeah, she got frustrated, she got irritated, but she just kept doing it. Nothing was going to stop her from getting to the top. She turned down every offer to turn around and just kept going. Almost just like, let's just get this done. And for any sort of event like this, where there will be a million opportunities to quit, there are going to be a million times that the equipment goes wrong. That's everything.
So you passed, Ashley.
I'm still mad at you.
You proved your stubbornness. He's probably mad now because you've given away his secret. He's going to have to come up with something else now for the rest of his clients.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna make sure everybody knows about that story so they cannot be fooled.
And like I said, in all fairness, I do test clients who want to do crazier things pretty regularly because the thing is, and all jokes aside, you kind of have to. You kind of have to see, even to yourself, what's going to hold you back? What's going to make you quit? And you say, look, I legitimately think nothing is going to make me quit. When this gets really hard, all I'm going to do is get angry at the situation and get it done.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. When we actually did the Cactus to Clouds, we got up there quite late, and we were like we'd just started descending, and it'd gone dark at this stage. And we'd been warned by the guides and whatever below, maybe you shouldn't go up there right now, but we went up there, and it was dark. and we were coming back down, I remember, by phone. You had a torch, I think, on your head. None of us, I didn't. So I'm using I'm using the iPhone to come back down because it's so dark. And Alex had just had rhabdo a couple of days before in the Grand Canyon. And he's like, you know what? I'm running a little slow. I'm not feeling too good. He's in hospital the next day.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that was the Grand Canyon, the hyponatremia and all that. Yeah, and I think it's interesting because I think as we all start to realize, and you look at a guy like a friend Ross who's doing this swim and everything else. Any sort of ultra endurance activity is just about mentally and physically handling discomfort of various kinds. And, just kind of getting, kind of finding that place inside yourself that says, okay, this seems tough, this seems challenging, this seems like it should rattle me, but I'm going to stay cool. I'm going to stay cool and handle this.
It's all about like controlling your environment. So many people get controlled by their environment throughout the rest of their lives, every single day. And, you to a certain degree, you have to expect the unexpected. And like you said, Alex, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable because it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yep.
The last thing that you want is not expect that element of surprise and allow it to derail you.
Yeah.
All right. So, Ashley, I know you've probably been asked this question so many times. Well, if not, I'm going to be the first. But take us through a day, because there's a lot of listeners here. Maybe they're not going to want to do 50 Ironman distance triathlons in 50 days, but they're like, you know what? I want to do a 5K. I want to do 10K. Actually, I want to do an Ironman. I have a lot of people now who, line up and show me their medals that they've done a 70.3 or a full, and I think it's phenomenal. But, where do they start? Like, take us through your day, if you don't mind, in regards to, your training, your nutrition, your supplementation, your hydration, your rest, your recovery, because our listeners do not know that you actually run several businesses. You've got your own gym, you've got a coffee shop, restaurant, you have your online training and your stores. And you are a mother as well. Like, how do you juggle all of this? Number one, I'm sure everyone's asking, but take us through your day so people can go, you know what? I've got no excuse. I could possibly do this too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think like the first thing is you have to be willing to flex. And just like this big evolution that's about to happen, Woman of Iron, like, you have to know that things are going to come up. Like, whether it is that you want to run your first 5K, or maybe you want to have a goal of doing a half Ironman. The moment that you sign up and then you say that you want to do it and you commit to it, and then the journey it takes to get to the starting line of when you're actually starting the race, everything that fills up in between, like, there are going to be days that, like, you're going to feel like the whole world is against you, like, trying to get your training done. And what I have found, and then I'll go into like kind of what my day looks like, but what I have found is, like, I have to be willing to either flex my training or adjust it how it needs. I have my Woodway here at the house. I have my bike here at the house, a couple different bikes. So there's really honestly no excuse. And I have the ocean that's like right outside my house, but there's no excuse. Like, even if I'm having to be a mom, or maybe I have to, like, yesterday I had 3 hours worth of meetings like stacked up, and I was on my bike and I just had people come over to my house to knock out the meeting so I could be on my bike trainer. Like, it doesn't mean like it just because, like, if you're set out to go, do your bike, or maybe you're going to go swim, or maybe you're supposed to go outside and do a run, but it starts dumping buckets on you and you don't want to run in the rain or whatever. Like, you just have to learn to be okay with flexing. You also have to learn to, like, if you miss a day of training, you have to be okay with that. Like, it's not going to be the end of the day. Like, people beat themselves up so much, and they think that, like, if they miss a day or like even 2 days of training, that they completely, like, they like can't do it. And over the whole course, like, yes, those days will add up, and it's important to try to make up the days and the training that you've missed. But over the whole course of, like, your goal from getting from point A to point B, like, you're gonna have days that you're gonna miss. And oftentimes, like, I just see people just get so frustrated, and they think, like, they just want to throw in the towel because they think that they can't do it. For me, I always wake up really early, usually before the sunrise, which is around 5 a.m. I'm definitely a morning person. And I have to have almost like that quiet time with myself, even if sometimes it's as little as 10 minutes. Sometimes I get 30 minutes to myself.
So
Of just kind of,
let me hold you there. So in that 10 or 30 minutes, what are you doing? That alone time? Like, does that mean that you're reading? Does that mean that you're on your phone? Or is it completely like staring out to the ocean?
it just varies. I journal a whole lot. So maybe I am writing stuff down. If it's not on paper, it's usually on my phone, like in the notes section. I'm going over my training for the day, either like envisioning it, making sure, with my schedule for the day that everything is cleared off, making sure there's nothing else that I need to basically focus on now to get it out of the way. A lot of times too, I'm just sitting there like at peace with myself, having that calm moment before the craziness starts. And the hardest thing for me is definitely balance of being a mother, being an entrepreneur, and also being an athlete. It's a very, very fine balance it's like a constant give and take. And, whenever you feel like you're putting all this time and everything into your training, and then maybe there are holes or things that have to be filled in the business aspect. And it's the same thing, with my boys. Like maybe I'm spending so much time training or so much time with my businesses, that I feel like, that I'm neglecting my boys. So I have to figure out ways that I can include them in my training. Maybe that's whenever I'm at home with them on the bike and I'm going over spelling words, or I'm throwing a ball back and forth. But that time is very, very valuable to me. I say that's like the one thing that you can never get back. You can never get back time. And so I truly try to wake up every single day, and I love to use every single minute of my day for a purpose. And but then my training starts. Right now my training is anywhere from like 4 to 6 to 8 hours a day. So just kind of varies. But Alex knows my schedule pretty well now, and kind of like my personality, that he has it on like, do your bike trainer today. If you need to have your meetings, get your meetings done. And he knows like sometimes I just have to flex, and it's just part of it. And it's part of my lifestyle. So
I really like your attitude when it comes to that, because you've just calmed me down just listening to you. Because like I'm the kind of person that's, I try to be a perfectionist in a lot of the things that I do, and I will beat myself up, and I'm probably doing myself more harm than good. If I didn't get a good, like I went for a run yesterday and it was a shit run, and I kind of beat myself up for it. And I'll probably go for it again later just to try to, get that back. But I'm probably building up more cortisol, and with that stress associated, that it's going to do me much more harm than good. So I'm definitely going to take a leaf out of your page there and not beat myself up, and hopefully that will help me progress. But Alex, could you talk us through the aspect of Ashley's day, in regards to the nutrition, the hydration? Obviously she's with Cage Muscle, and I don't want you to sell anything, obviously, but I like to have, and Ashley's the same as me. We don't sell it, we just give unbiased educational viewpoints, in regards to the supplementation and the hydration, and as a lot of it is overlooked, rest and recovery. How have you created that for Ashley, especially given her crazy lifestyle and commitments?
Well, I mean, thankfully, she's got her nutrition side handled pretty well. It hasn't been a concern yet at all. It's not something that necessarily has to be micromanaged. I think 'cause she's done such a good job in kind of focusing on her own hydration and focusing on taking, I mean, case in point right there, taking a swig. I mean, it's been reassuring, I think, to work with an athlete who's obviously done these kinds of events before and done this kind of volume of training before, because I think she knows at this point what she needs to recover. And, she's being proactive about getting the massages when she needs them, and being proactive about, getting the dry needling done when she needs it. And, even sometimes mentally just, taking, basically being able to say, this run on this woodway is just absolutely crushing in the pace it's forcing me to stick to. I'm going to, make the executive decision and call it at this point. And a lot of that is mental recovery, and it's understanding your mental capabilities as well. So I think she's auto-regulated extraordinarily well. I mean, it was been more of a case where just giving general guidelines and saying this is what's going to be critical, when it's really going to be important to kind of micromanage a little more is, of course, when we're actually out there, because it won't be a controlled home environment or anything else. And the hours spent outside are going to be much greater. So that's when we're really going to have to, make sure that the hydration is on point and make sure that the electrolytes are on point and adjust the sodium intake up on the hotter days and, reduce the potassium contribution a little bit and things like that to kind of try to keep everything in homeostasis.
Mm-hmm. And I will say there was, and you probably remember this, Alex. So I recently biked from Virginia to Oklahoma, and there was one day, I don't even remember what day it was. I mean, it was hot every single day. But where I would cycle and drink, but there was one time where I just drank almost so much water, and it was just plain water, like in a very short amount of time. And I just had the worst stomach ache. I mean, I was probably just, waterlogged, and I didn't even think until Alex said it, it didn't even make sense to me, but how important it was to, and I would have a bottle of, on your bike, you usually have two bottle cases. One was usually water and the other one was the HydroCharge. And for this time, whatever, I think it was probably both water, or maybe I had only one bottle, but it made sense after my stomach just got so upset because I wasn't actually replenishing or putting anything in my body that was actually good. There wasn't any electrolytes, there wasn't any minerals or anything. And then from that day forward, I didn't even drink water anymore. I made sure I was only drinking the HydroCharge with everything that was in it. And it made me feel so much better. It didn't upset my stomach, or just drinking all the water, just the plain water.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I tell you how I kind of stumbled across that initially is about 4 years ago.
I think Kris just froze.
Oh, am I on?
Either that or he's very focused right now.
Apparently I've frozen. Am I back on?
Kris, wake up.
Oh, I'm here. I'm back. Yeah.
Give him a second, see if he comes back.
Am I on?
That's really funny.
I know.
Screenshot that.
Apparently I've frozen. But I can see myself here. Let's move.
I can't. You're not going to forgive me for that. There we go.
I'm working again?
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. So I no idea what happened there, but anyway, I'll just go back. The way that how I kind of stumbled across this whole hydration thing was about 5 years ago when I was in India, and I just could not hydrate myself fast enough. I was just drinking lots and lots of volume, and I was just getting so bloated, and I couldn't actually hydrate the muscles. Because of the humidity there and everything. And then when I started drinking coconut water, I'd actually have several coconuts delivered onto my door every day, and getting the electrolytes in from the coconuts, it's the closest thing to blood plasma. I found that I didn't have to drink as much volume, nowhere near as much, to stay hydrated. And as you said, it's all about the mineral balance and the electrolyte balance as opposed to the actual volume of that. Mm-hmm. So I know exactly where you're coming from, and I know that you've had some pretty bad experiences with that, Alex, when you had, I can't remember, you'd left your electrolyte drink back at the hotel room or something, so which led to your rhabdo.
Yeah, switched bags. That was one of these rookie mistakes where at the last minute I switched to a lighter pack, and I left the tub of electrolytes in the other pack in a side pocket. And didn't even realize that until, of course, I had gone down. One of these mistakes that you only make once.
Yeah, that sucks. Let me ask you, I'm curious, Alex, are branched chain amino acids a part of Ashley's recovery, and to utilize muscle for protein energy, basically, muscle energy?
At this point, so because of the type of diet that she's on, a ketogenic diet, for the most part, it's not as needed because the protein contribution is so much higher. For conventionally fueled athletes, I think they're important. And I know there's a lot of back and forth on the value of them. But for athletes who are focusing on a high amount of carbohydrates and aren't necessarily taking in huge amounts of protein ad libitum, I think they're actually very important, certainly in helping to maintain a certain degree of muscle mass and stay, the leucine in them, certainly for staying anabolic, is fantastic. Because of, like I said, because of her current diet protocol, it is not as critical. But what's going to happen, of course, as these 50 go on, is that we're going to be less concerned with maintaining her in any kind of, ketogenic state at any time. And as we said, switching kind of more to what is everything we can give her to keep her recovering. So yeah, branched chains, glutamine, pretty much everything we can think of is going to be part of the nutrition protocol.
Yeah, the only reason why I ask is because out of all the supplements that I tried, experimenting with and trying, out of all of them, I found branched chain amino acids for me really, really helped, because I tried, okay, I'm going to try it for a few days and then try it without for a few days. I just found that I didn't build up on exercise. I don't know if you have any lactic acid issues, actually, Ashley, but I'd have a buildup of lactic acid. I was a little bit bigger than when I did it, and I just found that it helped sedate that lactic acid buildup as much, so... I don't know. That was it for me. So, Alex, are you going to be joining Ashley for these 50 Ironmans? And if so, how are you going to be joining?
Probably for a good number of them. We're kind of talking about the rotating team and everything else, and I think true to form, I think one of Ashley's biggest concerns with all this has been making sure her support team doesn't burn out. So she's been telling us over and over again how worried she's going to be that her team still manages to relax and take the time they need to and everything else. But, I'm going to try to be there for a bunch of them. I'm certainly not going to do the entire race with her on any given day. I know. Well, you don't need me for the swim. What am I going to do? You're not going to. Anyway, so I will be joining her on a lot of the bikes, kind of be support on some of the runs. And hopefully we'll also have, a lot of fans and supporters out there as well who'd love to join her for a lap or two. The way we're going to be doing the routes, hopefully there's going to be enough laps involved that, people can join for a small portion of them and come along. So in other words, yes, I'm going to be getting on my bike for a good amount of these and hopefully drafting off her the entire time.
Yeah, I got you, Alex.
Yeah, throw those lats out so he can draft off your lats.
Oh yeah, I will.
So for the listeners that want to follow this unbelievable or amazing challenge, how do they follow this? Like if they wanted to join in on maybe a part of the run or the bike, or at least just sit back and watch, how can I do that?
They can follow. So the whole thing is called Woman of Iron. So they can follow that hashtag, which is really easy. It's simple to remember. They can follow along on my social media. I know that my team will probably be posting like the day before each state where we're going to be. We've had so much help in the community. I know Alex's community of all the coaches that he has. And everybody is just, and my community of athletes that I have, everybody has been really, really generous and supportive and wanting to help out in any way that they can. And so, yeah, I'm encouraging people if they want to come out and they don't have to run a whole marathon with me, but if they want to come out and run, a few miles with me, if they want to just come and bring some donuts or, offer to wash our sweaty clothes or whatever, the more support, the merrier. And like I said, like this whole thing that I'm doing, it's not about me. It's about the children in Haiti. I love doing anything that brings people together and brings communities together. And so it's, the more people that can get involved and just to help, and I can only hope to inspire other people and women, especially who are intimidated to run a marathon or a half marathon or an Ironman. I want them to believe in themselves that they can, and it doesn't have to be a full Ironman. Maybe it's just a sprint, but I've said this before and I'll say it again. Like if you can run a mile, you can run a mile and a half. If you can run a 5K, I guarantee you can do a 10K. And then before you know it, you're going to be running a marathon. And so it's just taking something like, and I think for me, like I've broken this whole thing down I've simplified it so much that whenever I tell people about it now and they're like, wow, that they're like, that sounds like so crazy. And I'm just like, I don't know. It doesn't really sound that crazy to me anymore. Like it's just waking up every morning and doing a swim, which in a sense is a recovery, and it's getting my mind right. It's having that quiet time with myself for about an hour and a half, a time that I truly, truly crave, and probably the only time during the day that I will get to be alone and there won't be anybody else around me. And then after that, it's just time on the bike, which I've done that multiple days in a row. And and that's just running. It's literally like 10 miles, like 10 miles out, 10 miles back, and then and it just is sounds so simple to me. So.
Yeah, glad you've got it simplified in your head anyway. So if other people would want to have something like this simplified in their own heads so they could accomplish like a half Ironman or whatever it is, I'm sure there's a lot of people would want your services, Alex. So, not only do you train people, you have a whole team. And I've worked with Mike Feckick, obviously, amazing Ironman or triathlete trainer too. So where could people find out about your services, Alex?
Just CompleteHumanPerformance.com. It's got bios for all our coaches, including some that I've picked up extraordinarily bad habits and bad training ideas from, some of which Ashley has seen. But yeah, it's got information, articles on what we do, and probably the best way to find out more about everything we do.
Sure. I'll put the link into the show notes as well for the listeners, both for Alex's company and for Ashley's charity that she's doing this for. And hopefully, if my shoulder is recovered, I'll be able to join you on one of those as well here in Idaho.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, if you were going to do any of the Idaho Ironman with me.
It'd be rude not to, wouldn't it?
I know. I'd love it. So and then also, what's that?
No, are you going to come by and just pick me up? So, because I have no idea where to meet you all.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Easy. Yeah.
We'll race the bike. How about that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And then also for the Olympia, because I'll be there with Cage Muscle at the bodybuilding.com booth at the Olympia in Las Vegas in September. I'm going to do my swim in Las Vegas, but for the rest of the day, I'll actually be at the expo, and I'll be doing my bike and my run with my appearance. So usually I have a slotted appearance time, like an hour or 2 hours, sometimes once or twice a day. But now I'm going to be there literally the whole time at the bodybuilding.com booth with Cage Muscle doing my my bike and my run. So everybody can come by and take a selfie with me.
So what happens if you need a pee break or anything? Do you still just stay on the treadmill and bike, or do you actually excuse yourself?
No, I just stay on the treadmill and bike.
All right, cool. All right. Just wanted to put that out there, that's all. So if anybody's coming by for a picture, be warned. All right, well, thank you ever so much. Really, really enjoyed this. And please, do follow Alex, do follow Ashley on this journey. I will be posting about this as well, leading up to this, to try to encourage as many of you to follow this as well as possible. And I look forward to hopefully joining you here in Boise. But thank you very much to both of you. And thank you for all my listeners. This is the Knowledge and Mileage Podcast, and we are out.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.